and welcome back to my channel. Today we've got something very exciting planned. I have a book subscription to unbox, and the story begins. I do have to, full disclosure, I already made this video once, and there was just something that went wrong with the recording, of course, because this is my life. I just, things go wrong with the recording. Anyway, so I've already unboxed that, so I'm just gonna put it aside and I'll just show you the books that were in it. It's really sad because they came like super cute packaged, but I'll get all into that in a second. I also kind of want to talk about the book that we got in the Creepy Crate. In the Creepy Crate subscription. So we're going to talk about that. And then I just kind of wanted to talk about the book that I'm currently reading and my favorite author. And I actually have 3 books of his that I want to talk about that one of them I really loved. One of them I really loved until the ending, and then I hated the ending. And then the third one I actually really hated. And I think you'll be surprised about which one I actually hated because it is like a classic. Like lots of people absolutely love it. They go crazy about it. But first, let me get into The Case of the Murderous Dr. Cream by Dean Job. It's the hunt for a Victorian area serial killer. I was super excited when I first saw this one because I was like, oh, okay, a hunt for a serial killer. Like, that'll be great. The problem is he went so far into wanting it to be historically accurate that it was boring. There were just way too many details that didn't need to be in there. There was one point where, and I didn't read it all the way. I just read a little bit, and then I wasn't into it, and I can't force myself to read a book that I'm not into. But I remember at one point in the book, he was detailing like the forensic that they had at that point in time, because basically it's about this guy who was a serial killer. Let me see. He was a serial killer in the 19th century. So they detailed all of like the forensics and like detective work and everything that they had available to them in that time period. But then he also detailed what they didn't have, and that drove me insane because it's like, if you already tell me what they did have, why would I then assume that they also had all of these things? Why do you have to tell me they didn't have these things? You already told me what they had. Anyway, but that's a side rant. It could have been really good, but it was a really hard read. And there, like I said, there was just a lot of details that didn't need to be in it. Like, for example, he detailed about like the presidency at that time. And it's like, unless it became, relevant later in the book, I didn't see why they included it, other than the fact that he just wanted an overall historical of what was happening then, which is also weird because it's like, okay, if you're going to stick to the facts, whatever, but then he would also mix in randomly just like I almost like it was trying to be a fiction book. Like, here, let me find an excerpt. A man clad in a mackintosh to outsmart the day's showers, a top hat covering his bald head, turned up at the door of a townhouse at 103 Lambeth Palace Road. His name was Thomas Neal, he told the landlady, and he was in search of lodgings. And so it's like, you would think with like the start of that, it's like, okay, it's setting the pace for a story to be told. No, it doesn't. Anytime he started anything like that, he would just immediately abandon it and start talking about literally other things, like how Dr. Cream went to a different state, and that's how like the forensics, because of this during this time period, they didn't link stuff like that together, and the police departments didn't link. And it's like, okay, you're kind of trying to like dip your toe into both worlds, but mostly be in the nonfiction part. And I don't really, I can get into some nonfiction. It depends on what the topic is. But fiction is really where I'm at, and when I'm getting these subscription boxes, that's what I want, is fiction. Um, so I am gonna get Creepy Crate again, but if I get another book that I'm like, okay, that's not great, I'm probably gonna stop it and go to a different subscription box. I was very sad though, because I did, before deciding on Creepy Crate, I did watch some other people unbox it, and they've unboxed some great books and some that I was like, oh, I'd really like to have that, and that was so cool of them to have that in that box. I think one was like The Fly or something like that, that I had actually noted that I was like, oh, that's awesome. But unfortunately, that's just not my experience, and I'm not going to continue paying for a service where my experience isn't what I wanted. So I'm going to get into my current read for right now. A lot of my books I actually get secondhand, like at St. Vinny's, St. Vincent de Paul's. Um, so a lot of them aren't in like the best condition. So that's where I'm kind of preluding into showing you this book. So I'm reading right now. I'm reading The $1 Billion Boy, which you can tell right here, like not the best condition. It's been like folded. But that's by Charles Sheffield. And I am almost finished. Like I am in like the last chapter of this book, and I am just it's been great. I won't do too many spoilers, but I'll just tell you what the book is about. It's about this boy. Actually, let's backtrack that and do the setting first. So the setting is that Earth is filled with millions of people who are just poor. And there are some people, so we got the poor people, and there are some people who are rich who are above that. And then you have the boy in this book whose dad is even above the like rich people. So he was like rich, like richer than Jeff Bezos rich is pretty much how it's portrayed in this book. But there's also space. So people have gone, you can go to space, they've got space travel. There are people who actually live out in space and have never seen Earth. So we've got those two different things. The people on Earth, though, are anti-technology, which is strange. Like, they're anti-technology to the point where they're like, they want servants to do everything for them. And then you get up to space, and that's all they use is technology. Like, there's no servants, there's no people who do things for them. Their food is synthesized for them. Their clothing is made for them by robots. Like, robots do almost everything. The only thing they don't do is what, the people man some of the robots. And The $1 Billion Boy is about this boy who grew up on Earth with his, rich father, got everything handed to him, and he decides he wants to go on a space exploration to go and look at a belt. It's called the Cooper Belt in the book. And something goes wrong, and he gets lost, and it's about him trying to find his way back home. But during the entire book, there's this theme of him just trying to completely reject technology, because he wants people. He doesn't want technology. He doesn't want it at all. And then him having to get used to doing things for himself, for one, and for two, using all that technology that he had never used before because the people on Earth don't like it. I highly recommend this book. It's been great. Obviously, I haven't gotten to the ending yet, so if for whatever reason the ending just completely trashes it, like they do sometimes, which they do in a book that I'm going to go over next, I'll bring that into the next video. But if not, I 100% recommend reading The $1 Billion Boy. It's been great so far. Anyway, so my favorite author. So I am a huge fan of horror. Horror is really like the genre to me that I love the most. And my favorite author in that horror genre is Stephen King. Which, no surprise there. Stephen King is a hugely popular author, so I'm sure a lot of people are like super into Stephen King. I'm going to be talking about 3 of his books. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this one here that you already saw, Misery. And this has got to be one of my favorite Stephen King books. And again, I'm not going to go too in depth into these just because I don't want to spoil anything. But this one is basically about a writer who he has this character, this series, and he's just so tired of writing it. He just wants it to end. He wants to move on to something else, but it's super popular. So he kills off his character. And this person who claims throughout the book that she is his #1 fan kidnaps him so that he can rewrite his book. And it is just, wow. If you've never read Stephen King, he's very graphic. Honestly, sometimes it gets to be too much even for me, and I'm a huge fan of his. But the turns that this book takes is amazing, and it was great. Anyway, I highly recommend this book. The next book of his that I wanted to talk about was Rose Madder. And again, I thrift these books, so like they end up with most of my books I thrift. I do have a lot of books I do not thrift, but most of my thrift, so they end up with some spots, and that's fine. The book is not damaged at all, so that's the important bit, is the inside bit, not necessarily the outside cover. But Rose Madder I both love and hate. I absolutely hated the ending, absolutely loved the entire book. So, Rose Madder is about a woman who escapes her abusive husband who's a cop. It was so creepy. It was so dark. It was so twisted. I just loved this book at every turn. It was just I got chills at certain points in the book when he's like tracking her down. It was bad. And he is absolutely insane too. It's not just that he's abusive towards her. He was something else. So I highly recommend that. Like I said, the ending though, I hated. And sometimes Stephen King does this where he just like he has to put a twist on something, or it almost feels like he got bored right at the end of writing this book, so he didn't really want to give it a proper ending. I don't know. It's kind of one of the reasons why I can't stand his like he has like collections of short stories too, and some of them are so amazing, and it's like you wish that he'd have made like a book about it, but most of them are just super boring. It just feels like stream of consciousness that he's just writing it to write. So that's kind of what it felt like at the end of this book, was that it wasn't really put together, wasn't thought out, and was just really dumb, to be honest. Still worth the read though, and maybe some of you would enjoy the ending. Um, it just wasn't my cup of tea, but I would still 1000% recommend reading that, even with the ending. Now, the book of his that I absolutely hate, that I'm sure a lot of you are going to be super surprised about, is actually The Shining. Okay, this is a huge book. It's so widely popular. There's a movie about it, which I have not seen because I did not like the book. So I might watch the movie just to kind of, because sometimes, it goes both ways. Most of the time the book is better than the movie, but sometimes the movie is better than the book. So maybe I should give the movie a chance. Um, the problem is the book is so boring. The most interesting parts of the book is when they're talking about the Overlook Hotel and going into the history of it, but that's such a small portion of the book, and then nothing happens until the very end almost. It's like it was just the most boringest thing ever. I do have to say though, I have seen, because obviously like you see clips of the movie online, you see like memes and everything about that. They did change the mom a lot from book to movie, is what I noticed, because in the book she's described as being like drop dead gorgeous. I think she's even a blonde, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a bit since I've read this, but I think she's even a blonde in the books, and then the movie they make her look so greasy and like I don't know, she's definitely not like she turned heads in the book. And I think that might have been a director's like style choice. Anyway, I have Doctor Sleep as well. I just haven't picked it up just because I hated this book so much. I know that they have a movie out now that is Doctor Sleep. Maybe I'll pick it up. I mean, it could be that The Shining was just written as a prequel for Doctor Sleep, and that's why not much happens in it, is because it's setting it up for Doctor Sleep, so maybe more things happen. That happens a lot. You see it a lot, especially in movies. You'll watch a movie and you're like, huh, it just feels like that was just a major setup for another movie. And then a lot of the times that other movie just doesn't happen because that one was so bad. Anyway, but maybe I need to give the movies a chance now that Doctor Sleep is also a movie, and The Shining I haven't seen. But I'm absolutely disappointed in that book. Especially since when I picked it up, like so many people love The Shining, and you see it so iconically everywhere. I was expecting more. Anyway, so on to And the Story Begins. So this was it's too short. My stack of books wasn't big enough. Guess I need to get more books next time. So like I said, I already did this video, so it's all in box, which is sad because I couldn't show it to you. It came packaged. All of it is packaged eco-friendly. Like they even send you like, we care and like all this about mindfully packaging our stuff. They were both of them were individually wrapped in brown paper and then tied with like twine. It looked so cute. I am going to continue this book box, so next time I will get it to where I can show it to you guys. But the first book that we got was a paperback, and it's called The Night Visitors by Carol Goodman. For this, let me look up the subscription as well so that I can tell you about it. And the Story Begins is a monthly book subscription experience, which I am reading it off their website just so I can tell you guys accurate info, that delivers 2 individually wrapped hand-picked books from the genre of your choosing for only $17.95 a month. Each of our books are wrapped and shipped in 100% recyclable materials, which I do believe that I got the mystery. So there are different categories that you can choose. You can choose teen fiction, which all of these are just $17.95 a month, which if you buy books, like especially new books, you know that that is an amazing price. $17.95 for 2 books. Like if you're buying a brand new hardback, which one of these books was a hardback, but if you're buying a brand new hardback, that can be like $25 easily. So $17.95, great price. But so we have the categories teen fiction, young adults, mystery slash thriller, fantasy slash sci-fi, and surprise. And I do believe I got the surprise just because one of these books was a psychological thriller and then the other one was a young adult, so YA, which I do enjoy some YA novels. In fact, one of my books that I really enjoyed was YA novel. I might do a separate video about that. Anyways, The Night Visitors by Carol Goodman. And it says Alice gets off a bus in the middle of a snowstorm in Delphi, New York. She is fleeing an abusive relationship and desperate to protect Orin, 10 years old, a major Star Wars fan, and wise beyond his years. Though Alice is wary, Orin bonds nearly instantly with Maddie, a social worker in her 50s who lives in an enormous rundown house in the middle of the woods. Maddie lives alone and is always available, so she is the person the hotline always calls when someone needs a late night pickup. And although, according to protocol, Maddie should take Alice and Orin to a local shelter, instead she brings them home for the night. She has plenty of room, she says. What she doesn't say is that Orin reminds her of her little brother who died almost 35 years ago at the age of 10. But Maddie isn't the only one withholding elements of the truth. Alice is keeping her own secrets. And as the snowstorm worsens around them, each woman's past will prove itself unburied, stirring up threats both within and without. So I'm actually very excited to read this. I'll probably start on this one first after I'm finished with The $1 Billion Boy, just because this one seems more interesting to me than the other book does. But this is the psychological thriller that I got, so it's supposed to be very atmospheric and twisting, is one of the reviews. So I'm very excited to read that one. And then the other one that I got is actually a hardback, which I was surprised about. Oh, and before I forget, this one, so on the back of most books, there's like a pricing. This one, USA, $15.99. So if you were to buy this new, that's how much it would cost, which is already like the majority of the value for the box, which fantastic. And then the next one is a hardback. So this one is valued at $17.99. So this is actually valued at more than what And the Story Begins is, the price of it. So I'm super happy with that. But this is Sparrow. Anyway, you can kind of see it. It says, I'm not the kind of girl who tells. And this is by Mary Cecilia Jackson. And this one says, Hope is a dance with wings. Though Savannah Rose, Sparrow to her friends and family, is a gifted ballerina, her real talent is keeping secrets. Schooled in silence by her long-dead mother, Sparrow has always believed that her lifelong creed will make her just like everyone else. Normal, happy, safe. But in the aftermath of a brutal assault by her seemingly perfect boyfriend, Tristan, Sparrow must finally find the courage to confront the ghosts of her past or lose herself forever. So I'm super excited for this one too. It definitely seems interesting. I don't know. We'll see about this one. But I was super impressed by the fact that they had a hard copy book in this, and how both of them, like, they're in amazing condition. Like, I don't know. I didn't see anywhere on the website that you get them secondhand. So literally, there's nothing wrong with these. They could be brand new. So for value for the money for the books versus how much you're spending on the subscription, it's awesome. Very excited to delve into these. The next And the Story Begins. Hopefully, I will have read these by then. If I haven't, I will just be behind, and I'll let you know what I know of them when I know them. I'll let you know what I know when I know it. If that makes any sense at all. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a fun time kind of sitting here with me talking about books. Please leave a comment with, your favorite book or your favorite author, or maybe your most hated book and your most hated author. Anything goes. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.